Hi, and welcome to the Loan Officer Team Training Podcast. My name is Irene Duford. I'm your host, and today we're going to talk just me solo, talking about something that I think is really important for loan officers and every business owner to know. It's a section of our WOW training that we do called relationship building, how to develop and deepen relationships, because it all starts with the team. And there's a book called The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace by Gary Chapman and Paul White. Now, Gary Chapman is known to have written The 5 Love Languages, the book, and this came from that, but it's for businesses instead of just at-home relationships. So it covers 5 different languages of appreciation in the workplace. It's words of affirmation is one of them, how we talk to each other. We're going to go into the details of each one, but the first one is words of affirmation. They're not in any specific order. Quality time is another one. Acts of service is another one. Tangible gifts is another one. Physical touch is one of the 5 love languages, but it's not really covered because it's business in the languages of appreciation in the workplace. So we're going to talk about first words of affirmation. And the reason these things are so important for you to know as a business leader, and if you're managing a team or of any kind, whether it's loan officers or any other kind of team, is we naturally tend to speak in the language of our own, what matters to us, our own language. My language happens to be words of affirmation and time, quality time. And they're right next to each other. Whenever I take this test, it's not a test, it's really an inventory. And when I take it, it's always either time or words of affirmation. They're right next to each other. So what that means for me and for anyone that has words of affirmation is they love to be recognized, to hear people saying things about them that like they make a difference in their lives or different things like that. Those are words. I know for me, my husband leaves notes for me all around the house. He's gotten really great over 44 years of being together. He's gotten great about speaking my language instead of his. And so we've gotten to know each other's languages really well. And it helps us in our relationship. And the same thing goes for work. It would help you at work as well. So words of affirmation, I'm going to explain what that really means. It's having others communicate their appreciation for them verbally. It must be sincere, though. It can't be fake. Verbally communicating your appreciation to them encourages and energizes them. They get more motivated. They want to continue to do a good job. It's also important to note that they may also be sensitive to criticism and can be discouraged easily by either a lack of praise or negative comments. So how you say something matters as well. So here's some examples of things that you can do as a leader managing a team. You can write an email and acknowledge when that person has done a good job. Acknowledge their effort of a project in the presence of their teammates. Occasionally tell them thanks for doing a great job. See, some of these things don't naturally come to you because it's not your language, but it's about speaking the other person's language. That will make you a great communicator if you're speaking their language and a good leader. Occasionally tell me thanks for working hard. Like I said, send me an email to let me know that I've done well. Speak in a cheerful, positive tone as much as possible. Acknowledge when I've handled a difficult situation well. Tell others when that person is not around about the job that they're doing. Tell them thank you or give them a specific compliment of something that they did that was really great. In the person's review, make a list of positives regarding what you like about what they're doing. Give their department or team a group compliment when they've done well. Send an occasional note of encouragement. When appropriate, they'd like to be recognized in front of others for work well done. Leave a note of encouragement for only them to see. When I used to write my checks for my business, for my employees, many, many years ago, I used to write the checks myself. And every time I wrote a check, I wrote a personal note in there, like a little sticky note on the check to let them know something specific that they had done. Once again, I didn't know all of this and I was speaking in my language. That might not have been their language, but they appreciated getting the note. If their number one or number two language is not words of affirmation, that doesn't mean they don't appreciate words of affirmation. It just means it's not as important to them as others are. And we'll talk about the different ones. Another 4 words of affirmation is leave a note of encouragement for only that person to see. Let my colleagues know when I have achieved significant goals or completed important tasks. That's really important for someone with words of affirmation. So an example of words of affirmation is there, but some other things that you can do is just acknowledge them in the group. Let them know how much you appreciate them. And even if it's not your language, find a way to make it your language, like my husband has done for me, and I've tried to do with him. Quality time is the next one, and they're not in any order. No one is more important than the other. It's very different for each person. But quality time, spending quality time having shared experiences and quality conversations with those that they value. As a result, they feel valued and appreciated when others invite them to do something, like with their coworkers. Even if people work remotely, you can have like a lunch where everybody has their lunch at the same time, or a meal, or anything that they want to partake of, maybe get ice cream for everybody. And even if they work remotely, and have them all eat it at the same time of the day and visit a little bit, that is quality time. Go to lunch just for fun with them if you are not remote. And if not, if you are remote, get together once in a while with them. I know a lot of loan officer managers and brokers that will go and visit and have a get together with their team, even though they're all remote. So that's important. Stop by, sit down in their office, and check in with them about how things are going. Now, you can do that remotely as well. You just give them a call, just have like a weekly check-in. It doesn't have to be planned, but you can just call and say, hey, I'm just calling to see how you're doing. How's everything going? Is there anything I can help you with? Things like that. Shows them that you care about them and that they matter to you. Give them your full and undivided attention. When you're talking to them, that time with you is important to them. If their first or second is the most important, is quality time, it's going to be really important that you're actually present with them and giving them undivided time. Take time to listen to them if they have something on their mind. And even if it's going to take you longer and you're more of a rapid type of person and you want to get to the next thing, slow down a little bit and make sure you get them heard. It's important that they be heard. That's part of a quality time affirmation that you can give them. And then come hang out with the team at the end of the day sometimes. If you're in person, you can do that easily. If not, you can create it. Have an off-site retreat for the team, like I just mentioned a little bit ago. Get together to watch sporting events. You can even do that remotely. You guys can ask, how did the game go? Things like that you can do. Go to dinner with your spouses or significant others. Remember, this applies all in your life, not just to your team members, but I'm talking to the managers and to the team leads and to other people on the team, because you should know each other's language. And I'm going to show you where to find that inventory after I explain what these are. The next one is acts of service. The people that have acts of service as their number one or number two language, they're energized when colleagues volunteer to help them. Here's some things that a coworker or a supervisor can do to encourage a team member with acts of service as their language of appreciation. Stay after hours to help them complete a project. Offer to do some menial task that will allow them to focus on higher priorities. Even once in a while, when they get overwhelmed, just that little bit of help can make a big difference. Volunteer to do something that they don't like doing, just once in a while. It doesn't have to be all the time. Help them fix their computer if it's not working efficiently. Help them with tech stuff if that's not their thing. Bring them or their team food when they're working long hours to complete a project, or order it in if they're remote. Provide extra time for support staff to help them get caught up. If you're super behind, And hopefully pretty soon you will be super not behind, but you'll have so much work you won't know what to do. We're hoping in the next few months. So getting them help to get caught up, even if it's temporary help, will help them a lot. Ask, is there anything I could do for you that would make your work easier? That's a big deal to someone that has acts of service as one of their number one or number two languages of appreciation. Are you holding off on training your loan partners, your loan assistants, your team members, and support staff on how to wow your clients? Are they getting that kind of training from you? You probably plan on training them if you get a few extra hours, but when does that happen realistically? And meanwhile, your team is doing the best they can with the information that they have. But this kind of training really doesn't exist anywhere else. When you do the training, that means you're not as responsive as you want to be with your clients, and you're not hitting your closing and income goals as a loan officer. So how much is it costing you to not have a team that's properly trained how to wow clients and referral partners so that they only want to work with you because of the great experience that they're getting? We teach them how to use efficient step-by-step processes and systems that work, how to follow up so nothing falls through the cracks and loans close on time and even early, how to build wonderful relationships with clients, how to wow people so they go, man, that was an amazing experience. The members of his or her team are amazing. They're so on it. How to use scripts and dialogues for winning clients, setting expectations, and communicating with clients so that you can prevent problems down the road. How to handle difficult clients, how to make clients feel appreciated and valued, and how to handle and overcome objections. It might be time to ask for some help. That's why we're here. Loan Team Training has our next live WOW training coming up. We train your team for you so you can focus on closing loans. Check it out at loanteamtraining.com for our next class and see how many 5-star reviews we have from past WOW training participants and their loan officers who sent them at loanteamtrainingreviews.com. Remember, it's an interactive virtual training with live trainers, and we train any of your support staff that is communicating with clients and referral partners. Our sessions are 9 to 11:30 Pacific time. Check us out and sign your loan partner or team member up at loanteamtraining.com. Tangible gifts is another one. Now, when people take the inventory and they come up with tangible gifts, sometimes they feel like they're kind of being greedy or it's not really one of the languages that it needs time or that type of thing, but it's really gifts. And that could mean money. It could mean that they're motivated by money. It could be, but not always. So here is explaining what it is. You must give a gift that the person values. The true spirit of giving tangible gifts is effective when the gift shows that the giver has spent time and energy thinking about the gift. That's a big deal. They have answered the questions. What would this person enjoy? What are their interests? What would make them feel special and appreciated? And you could ask the person, what are some of your favorite musical artists? What's your favorite magazine? What do you like to do for fun? What are your favorite sports teams? What are some of your favorite restaurants? The ones close to work, it would be nice for people that have tangible gifts as a language of appreciation. You can give them gift cards to places that are close to them that they like to eat, maybe like for lunch, small gift cards. It doesn't have to be big gifts. It doesn't have to be. And it doesn't always have to be a thing. It could be an experience that they enjoy. For example, tickets to sporting or cultural events, gift cards for their favorite food or favorite places to shop, a weekend at a bed and breakfast, certificates for a pedicure, a manicure, or a free round of golf. One of the ones that I've heard loan officers talk about is they'll bring in somebody, a mobile car wash to wash their car wherever they are, whether they're at home or whether they're working from home or working from an office. I've also heard of people bringing in a masseuse, like just for their neck and stuff at the office. But these are just ideas that you can come up with. But I'm going to show you where you can get the inventory done so you know what your team's language of appreciation is. And I would say you need to make sure that everyone on your team has one and that you're well aware of what each person's is so that you can try to live their language of appreciation, not your own. But I think it's important that you do your own as well so that they know your language as well. Because the language for gifts, it's different because you're giving them something. But for words of affirmation, that is an easy thing to do. And if your language is words of affirmation, your team should know that. And you should know what your teams are as well. The last one that we don't cover in the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace, but it is covered in the book, The 5 Love Languages, which I highly recommend for relationships, is physical touch. So that's not covered in the inventory that I'm going to tell you about, but it can be problematic in the workplace, and that's why they don't put it on there. But here's a few examples. If a person is physical touch, if they like physical touch, they might feel appreciated when a person gives them a high five. That's one way, like, you've done a great job, high five. Or a simple pat on the back by a supportive friend inspires people to work through a difficult task. Or I feel important when a person gives me a firm handshake as a means of communicating job well done. So there's an action checklist on the MBA inventory, and it will say what their number 1 and number 2 language of appreciation is. And so that's the most important thing to remember on the languages of appreciation for your team is what's their number 1 and their number 2. Those are the languages you should speak to. That doesn't mean that the other languages are not important. For instance, gifts are my lowest on mine. I love a good gift, though, from somebody that is very intentional about the gift. One time I had a gift given to me. I was at our Freedom Club retreat that we do together. And one of the guys that I coached for a couple years said, I have a gift for you. And I went, oh, okay. I mean, who doesn't like to get a gift, right? Even though that's not my number 1 and number 2, everyone likes to get a gift right away. So he gave me this gift. I said, can I open it? And he goes, yeah. So inside there was a cutting board like this, and it said Freedom Club with our logo on it, which I helped create the Freedom Club from the very beginning. And I was the first coach for the first year. And so it's like my baby. It's something that I've always taken pride in the last 12 years. And so he put the Freedom Club established 2012, and the logo was on it. And then on the right of the cutting board, it said Coach Irene. And that meant so much to me. And that cutting board is in my kitchen, so I can see it every day and remember how sweet that was. And nobody's allowed to use that cutting board to cut anything. It's just a decoration in the kitchen. And I know that sounds silly, but that's how much that meant to me. And so I really appreciate Rob for giving me that. There's been several others as well, but you have to know the person's language. I have a guy that I used to coach and became a good friend, Dan. And one day we were talking on a coaching call, and I said, what's new, Dan? He goes, guess what? I said, what? He says, because he's a golfer. He loves golf. And my husband loves golf, and, we're a golf family. I don't play golf, but everyone in the family does. And he said to me, I got practice rounds for the Masters tournament, Irene. And if anyone knows anything about golf, that is not an easy thing. You have to put your name in a lottery, and you have to win the lottery just to be able to purchase those tickets. And so he said the practice round, I think it was a Wednesday practice round. And he said, and I am so excited. So we were all excited. I was, celebrating with him and everything. And then the next call, he was going to go. And then when he finally did go on the call afterwards, I was so excited. I said, how did it go, Dan? How did the practice round go? He said, Irene, it was a dream. I enjoyed it so much. And he went and we talked, we did our coaching call afterwards, and I was so excited for him. Anyway, we hung up the call and everything. About a week later, I got a box in the mail, it covered all the languages, and that's why I'm telling you about it. It covered each one of the languages. So he wrote a note to me, a beautiful note to me, and that was words of affirmation. And he took his time to make sure that he purchased a couple of things at the golf tournament. He got, well, I'll tell you what he got, but that was the quality time, which were, those are my two number one, right? Acts of service. He served me by sending me a box and telling me that he was thinking about me while he was at the practice round. And then tangible gift. So what he did is he wrote me a note. He took time to get it, to get the purchases that he did while he was there. And he sent Kevin a hat. Now, Kevin's my husband, and he knows how much he loves golf. And you can't get these hats anywhere else except for at the Masters tournament. And it was a Masters hat. And that's not something you can pick up just anywhere. And so he got that for Kevin and some ball markers. And I thought, oh my goodness, he covered all of the languages of appreciation. And that's why I remember it so much. I mean, I always remember when people are thoughtful because it meant a lot. And the thing is that he got the things, he wrote me the note because he knew me really well. And he was thinking about us while he was there. But he got the gifts for Kevin. You know why? Because who is the most important person in my life? It's my husband, Kevin. And so he covered all of them. And I'm just so appreciative when people take time to do things like that. That's how you can make your team feel. Whether it's your teammate, whether you manage them, whether it's your boss, you should know their languages of appreciation. So as business owners, as managers, as team leads, I'm going to encourage you to have your whole team take this motivation by appreciation inventory. It's really, really important. So what we do in the WOW training, when you sign up a team member for WOW training, we pay for that for you so that you have their language of appreciation. And we also keep a copy in case you ever lose it. So they take that language of appreciation inventory before they come to class. And that way they have it. And when we're covering this, we go through each person's language of appreciation and we explain it like I did for you today. It is so powerful. I highly recommend that every person who manages a team should have a copy of each person on the team's language of appreciation. So now I'm going to tell you where to go. You're going to go to appreciationatwork.com. That's where you're going to go to find out more information about this. And the actual inventory is shop.appreciationatwork.com. And they're $15 a piece. And you get a discount if you buy a bunch of them, if you have a big team. But they are so powerful to know what the language is of your team members. So you're not speaking in your language, you're speaking in theirs. So I'm going to tell you a little story about something that happened to me many, many years ago when I was raising my two oldest kids. One day we were at home and my husband came home from work and I noticed that he was getting a little bit more and more irritable after he walked in the door, and I didn't know what it was. And we were newly married, a few years married, and we had a couple of kids. And so one day it dawned on me because after he came in the door, he started to clean up all the kids' toys and things like that. And I knew that's how he was, but it didn't really register with me because that wasn't important to me. And so anyway, he ended up doing that. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to try something different. I'm going to have the kids start picking up their toys and stuff. When I know he's coming home from work, I'm going to start having the kids kind of clean up and have a fun game with it. So that's what I did. I said, come on, kids, Daddy's coming home soon. Let's get everything all cleaned up so he'll be nice and smiley when he comes in the door, So that's what we did. And he was like a different person when he walked in the door. And so that was me. I didn't know it at the time because I didn't know about the 5 love languages or the languages of appreciation, but I just kind of felt like that's what it was. Now that I know what I know, I was actually speaking his love language, which is acts of service and quality time. Those are his. And so that was really important to him. And we started doing it every day because I noticed it worked. But at the time, I didn't know what I was doing other than I was trying to find a way to make him smile when he walked in the door, and it worked. And those are things that I've learned as time goes on, just like we all do in relationships. We learn what's important to the other person. And as a side note, one of the most important things in a marriage, in my opinion, after 44 years of a successful marriage, is always putting the other one first, or always putting each other first. He puts me first a lot, I put him first a lot, but knowing his love language has made a huge difference since I was introduced to this about 10 years ago. And so there is the Five Love Languages, a book by Gary Chapman that you can read. You can find it on Amazon. And there's an inventory in there for your relationships. And then there's the Five Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace by Gary Chapman. And that's all about the workplace. So that's what I'm sharing with you today. I hope it was helpful. If it was, please share it with other people that you know, and have people subscribe to the podcast if you got value out of it. I really appreciate if you would do that for me. It would mean a lot to me. So have a great rest of your day and rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.